Hi, this is Karen with Karen's Cards and More, and today I have a beautiful card that I want to share with you. When I started creating this, I didn't anticipate how much that I was going to love this card. So let's get right into it. I do want to mention that I am an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up, and so the products that you're going to see me use today are Stampin' Up products that you can order from my online store, karensmith.stampinup.net. But let's get right into this beautiful card. And I'm going to hold it up just so that you can see some of the shimmer. I've used some shimmer vellum and then some Wink of Stella. So there's some shimmer on the black middles to the flowers, and the background of the main flower is a shimmer vellum in the Pale Papaya. I really love this card. So if you really like flowers, you'll probably like this one too. So let's talk about what we need to get this going. We need a piece of basic white that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Then you're gonna need a piece of black that is 5 1/4 by 4. Then you're going to need a piece of basic white that is 3 3/4 by 5. And then you're going to need a piece of designer series paper. And I'm using, this is from In Good Taste. It's a brick pattern with some grays in it. And I thought that went well with the black. And this is 2.5 by 4 1/4. So those are the pieces of cardstock and designer series paper that you're going to need to cut. Then there's some die cutting. This is mostly a die cutting project. We only have one stamp that we're using. The rest of it's all die cutting. So let's talk about the die cutting and which sets you're going to need to be able to cut this out. So the main flower here is from the Poppy Moments die set. And there's this big part of this outline, and so you're gonna need that, and I'm using Pale Papaya for that, and I'll show you that. So you'll need one of those. And then you'll need the outline of the big flower. And I did that in this Pale Papaya Shimmer paper, and this is so pretty. It probably doesn't show the shimmer in the camera as well as you would see it in real life. So then I needed one of those. And then for the smaller flowers that are on the card, you need the outline of the poppy. And I did those in the shimmer paper as well. And you need 2 of those. So 2 of those. And you'll also need 2 of the outline of the small poppy, which is this. And I cut those out of vellum, just plain vellum. Okay. And then you'll need one of the centers, this center. And I cut this out of black. And then you'll need 2 of this small center. And I also did those out of black. So we use quite a bit from this set, and this is the Poppy Moments set. Then we're going to be using, here's the Painted Poppy stamp set. We're not using any of the stamps, but we're using the coordinated die set, which is the painted labels. And for this, the only thing that we're going to use 2 things out of this. We're going to use this part for our tag, and I cut that out of basic black. So let me get that and show you that. So I just cut that out of basic black. And then we're going to use this lacy looking border, and you're going to need 2 of those, and I did those out of basic white. So 2 of those. And we're done with that. So I think we have one more die cut that we're going to use. And that's from the layering circles. We're going to need the smallest circle. And I didn't use scalloped. I just used the regular, and I went with the smallest. And that's going to be the layer that we're going to stamp on. And then for the stamp, of course, I had designed the card, and then I decided, well, what kind of stamp would fit in the circle. And the one that I liked the best that I had comes from the Encircled in Friendship die set, You're the Best. And I felt like that would be great because you could use that for a lot of different things. You could use it for a birthday. You could use it for a congratulations. So there's a lot of different avenues you could go with that. You could just write an appropriate message that goes with whatever your situation. So I really liked the versatility of just saying You're the Best. Sometimes when I make the cards, I don't know who I'm going to send them to yet. So I thought I would be able to use this for a lot of different situations. Then I'm also using this black and white baker's twine, and it's in the catalog as part of a set, the Playful Pets trim set. And I believe the other one that it comes with is red and white baker's twine. So we're going to be using that. Then we're also going to be using the Elegant Faceted Gems. That's these. And we're going to be using the lighter looking ones there. And then we're also going to be using Wink of Stella. So that's all the components of the card. We're going to do a lot of intricate gluing. You could have cut these border die, the ones that the detailed top piece, you could have done those out of adhesive sheets. That would save you the gluing because you could just strip the adhesive backing off and then stick it down. Let's go ahead and get our lace trim on our designer series paper. So I'm just going to bring in these trim pieces. And all we're going to do for this is we're just going to run a little bit of glue just on this edge. I'm just doing a line of glue. And then I'm just going to lay this down on the edge, and it should fit, the 2.5 width should make it fit perfectly. And so I'm just going to push that down. And then I'm going to come over to the other one, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just putting a line of glue and then I'll just turn this over. And again, I'm just going to line it up. It's the exact width of our lace piece. And I'm just going to press that down. And then this piece is done. We can set that aside. So let's go ahead and put our sentiment layer together. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to do our stamping. And so I have this You're the Best. And we're going to put that right on there, and I'm using black memento. The nice thing about a circle is you don't have to really worry about getting it straight because you just turn the circle, right? So it makes it a very easy one to try to work with. So I'm just going to stamp this up. Get some ink on there. That looks pretty good. And I'm just going to try to center it in the circle. And put that down, and I always just hold it for a second. There. So there we've got our sentiment. And you could use snail glue or the liquid glue, either one. Since I already have it here, I'm just going to put a little bit of the liquid glue on this. And then I'm just going to center that in our black piece and press that down. And so we have that done. Now let's work on all of our other intricate pieces. Actual putting the card together, when we go to put the layers together, that goes really quickly. It's all this intricate little gluing that we have to do that takes the time. So I'm going to bring in all my pieces so I have them all close by, and then we'll go ahead and get the gluing done. So let's start with our big piece. So this fits And what I would recommend is playing with it, knowing how it's going to go on before you put the glue on it, so that you can kind of have a good idea in your head. So we know that it fits like that. And what I did is I just put some glue. As long as the middle part is glued down, it can't go anywhere. So I'm just going to put glue on the middle, and then I'm just putting a few dots of glue in places on the outside edge. I'm being very, very sparing with this because I don't want glue oozing out the sides. So just wherever I have thicker parts, I'm putting some of the liquid glue. I just want to avoid a situation where I have oozing glue. So in some places, I'm basically just tacking it because the glue in the middle is definitely going to hold it. So then I'm just going to spin this around, bring in my vellum piece, get this turned back around the way that it goes. And then I'm just going to line those up and just start pressing down. Just like that. So I've got that done. And I'm going to go ahead and glue my center in this. And you can play with however you like the black part to go. It's going to look just a little different depending on how you place it, what you're considering the top of your flower, what you're considering the bottom of your flower. So just play with it and find the one that you like. So I'm just going to, again, use this liquid glue, and I'm just putting a little. I'm definitely not squeezing much. I'm just letting the glue flow. And then I'm going to just place this right like that and press it down. And I'm going to set that aside and let it have time for the glue to set. Okay, now we're going to go ahead with our next one. So for these vellum on vellum pieces, I did find that the Tombow glue worked a little bit better than the other glue for sticking to the vellum. It must be something about the vellum. It just seemed to work a little bit better. So I'm going to use the liquid Tombow glue for these vellum pieces. The only thing with this is you just have to be a little more careful when you're putting your glue on, because you don't want to be too globby with it or it's going to squeeze out. So I want to get a good part in the middle. I'm going to spread that a little bit. And then I'm just going to kind of put some just little dots of glue here and there around the edge. I'm going to come in with my alcohol pad and I'm just going to clean that glue off. I'm even going to run it a little bit around any parts where I see glue oozing while it's still wet to remove the sticky. And I'm going to set this one aside for a moment. Got some glue under here. You can, if you do have sticky on this when it dries, take your anti-static, your embossing buddy, and go over it, and that removes the sticky as well. So I'm going to bring in my other piece that we already had glued, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the back. Now I have bumble fingers when it comes to these little things like this. So this tends to be a little more trying for me putting these on. So I usually use my tweezers just because my fingers just tend to get in my way. So I'm just going to hold that down for a minute. And then I'm going to do the same with the other one. So then we got all of our flowers ready. So now we're ready to put our card together. And we're going to start with putting our black piece on our card base. So let's go ahead and start with that. And I'm just using some Stampin' Seal. And I ran out of Stampin' Seal, I think. Let me see. Now it just got balled up a little bit. I think we're okay. So we're just going to adhere this to our card base. And just trying to get it centered. Looks pretty good. And then we need to do a little work with our white piece before we adhere it to that. So what I'm going to do to start with is down towards the bottom, because we're going to put our twine towards the bottom. I'm just going to run a little of the Stampin' Seal, just a line of it on both sides towards the bottom, because that's going to give my twine something to stick to. So I'm just going to, and I just eyeballed it however far up you want it. I'm keeping it fairly close to the bottom. I'm going to guess that's maybe ½ inch, maybe a little less. And I'm just going to try to line that up, keeping it even. And I'm just going to keep wrapping around, pressing it in that Stampin' Seal that we have on the back. Now you could try to, instead of going all the way around, you could try to loop it at each end, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So instead of going all the way around the back, because that does waste a little, you could loop it there and then come back. That was just because I was wrapping it 3 times. That was a little difficult with this one to do. So I just kept wrapping. So I did 3 strands of it. Just like that. And then I'm going to press them together and just kind of look and see. I think that's pretty even, so that's good. And then I'm just going to come back with my Stampin' Seal. And now I'm going to go around the border so I can attach it to my black piece. And I'm going to come right over that twine that I already have there. And then before we place it down, we'll check the front, make sure nothing's twisted. Okay. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to bring in my card base. And this goes towards the bottom. So notice I have this turned so that that's the bottom. I'm just going to try to line that up, center it, and press it down. Just like that. Now we know that this piece is going to go up above here. So that's the next part that we need to get down. Make sure I have this in view. So the next piece I want to put down is this one. And I want to keep it kind of close to the top. So just a small border at the top, because we still have our sentiment to go in here. So I want this fairly close to the top, but I want it centered side to side. So I'm just going to put some Tombow glue on this. And I'm just looking to see if I get the lace part centered. And that looks pretty good. Now, because I want to build my flowers around my sentiment, I want to go ahead and put it on next. And I'm just using dimensionals to pop it up. Now, it's going to set over the edge of our ribbon. So I'm going to keep the dimensionals towards the top. And then I'm just going to run a little bit of the Stampin' Seal right there at the bottom, because that's going to hit where that twine is, to help it stick on there. Well, I guess I need to remove the backing on my dimensionals. That would help, wouldn't it? Okay, so we're just going to kind of line this up and then press it down. So the Stampin' Seal on the back is going to help it right where the twine is, but then you're holding it down with the dimensionals. And then you could always take one of the small dimensionals. You could try to stick another one behind there if you felt like you needed it. I'm fine with that, so we're gonna go with that. So then you want to kind of play with your flowers before you start gluing, because you want to know how you're going to place them around this, how far, if you want them coming out along the edge of that, or if you want them staying more within it, how you want to tilt them. So you want to have an idea of what you're going to do before you place these. And I like something kind of like that. So I'm going to start... I think I want to start with the big flower because I can always tuck the little ones in. So because this is vellum, we have to worry about the adhesive. So what I'm going to do is I want the bulk of my adhesive to be underneath this middle panel because it's not see-through. So that's going to be the bulk of my adhesive. Then on these thicker sides that will be covered, you won't be able to see, that's where I'm going to tack down my big flower. Because I can put a little dab of glue there and you're never going to see it. And that'll be more than enough to hold the flower down. Okay. And I'm kind of putting this towards the middle. That looks good. I'm just pressing that down. Just like that. And then I'm going to come in and do each of my side flowers. And you can always, if you need to lift this up a little bit to get that glued in, you can. So again, I'm putting the bulk of my glue in the middle and then just a little bit on that outside edge. Just in a few spots. Just to hold it down. Okay, so I'm just going to tuck this under and get this where I want it. I think I want it to be a little more slanted that way, and then I'm going to press it down. Okay, and then I want to do the other one the same way. I'm just going to add a little glue in spots. That bulk of the glue in the middle is going to hold it down. So if I just add a little bit of glue in spots, it's going to hold it. And then I'm just going to lift the big flower a little bit to tuck that in and press that down. And so then I've got my flowers already adhered. And then if you have a part that's sticking up that you don't like, you can always tack it down. I didn't mind if it was flapping a little because I knew that center was glued down. It wasn't going anywhere. So then I'm going to come in with my elegant faceted gems that we talked about. And I used one of the larger ones up in this corner. And then I used the smaller ones. I brought one over in here. And then I put another small one down in the white part here. Just to try to give it, draw the attention to the middle. And then my last surprise for this card is I'm going to use a little bit of Wink of Stella. And I'm just going to go over those black dots in the middle. The black center. So I'm just squeezing a little bit as I paint this on. You just brush it on. And I'm not doing the little finger things that come out. I'm just doing the centers to give it a little sparkle. And then that will need to dry. Don't put it in your envelope right away. Give that a chance to dry. But there we have our beautiful card. The only thing left to do is fold it. And there we go. I hope you enjoy this card as much as I do. I love the way it turned out, and I hope you will give it a try. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. You'll be notified every time I upload a video. Give me a thumbs up. Those all help my YouTube channel. Be sure to check out my Facebook group, my Facebook page, Karen's Cards and More, and I will be back with you to craft again soon.